Morning, Steve Free in Chicago with the grain comments. Well, welcome to 2020. We'll see what kind of year it's going to bring us. 19 was certainly a crazy and interesting year. Overnight, we didn't have a trade, so this morning we're just trying to call the grains, corn and wheat steady, maybe beans up a penny. Palm oil prices are up sharply overnight, which will help soybean oil, which should help beans. I think South American weather is okay. We'll see with the funds short beans, corn, and meal. Long the soybean oil market, and also long just the soybean oil market a record amount. I think that we'll see if going into the January 10th report, if the funds cover their short in beans, meal, and corn. As far as the wheat market and bean market is concerned, we may be close to some tops if we see normal 2020 global crop conditions. Meal market's under some pressure in the cash market with maybe too much crush going on and maybe too much meal stocks kind of on the sidelines. And the oil market continues to fall, palm oil higher, but I'm just kind of wondering if we're getting close to a top in the soybean oil market also. I think the big news over the last few days has been that it's probably common knowledge now that U.S. and China will not release a list of the commodities that they are going to buy under this Phase 1 deal. It sounds like the deal is going to be signed on January 15th. There's 30 days of implementation, and then I think that the Chinese will start buying. Now, most people think that they'll buy beans and pork, but they're not sure just what else they're going to buy. And it kind of makes sense that if they put out the list, those prices would rally, and the Chinese may not buy, or they certainly wouldn't buy as much. But this is probably disappointing to the farmers and anybody that's long the grains because of a potential rally if they release the deal. If we look back in 2019, the soybean market had basically 5 trades. You sold it on January 1st, you bought it on May because of the U.S. weather, you sold it again in June, and you bought it in August, and again you bought it here in December. For the corn market, there was only 2 trades. You sold it in January, and you bought it in May because of the weather, and you sold it again and then in June. And in the wheat, you sold it also in January, you bought it in May, you sold it in June, and then you bought it again in September. So I don't really see too much different than that as far as 2020, as far as trends goes. We just have to figure out what prices are when we're buying and when we're selling. It's interesting that when we look back at 2019 from a commodities perspective, the top leaders as far as gains was crude oil, obviously the S&Ps, gold, soybean oil, and a little bit of copper and a little bit of wheat. The big losers, natural gas, soybean meal, corn, cotton, soybeans, and canola. So again, some of those basic commodities that lost ground, I think, was worried about a recession, and they were also worried about slowing down the economy in China. And we'll just kind of see if all these economies have made a bottom, and that maybe some of these economies, if they made a bottom, some of these commodities might move higher. So again, overnight, steady calls in corn and wheat, up about a penny in beans because of the soybean oil. And again, these are my thoughts and not those of ADM or ADM Investor Services. Have a safe and profitable trading day.